Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Ananda, the Galactic Mystic, and welcome to our Cancer new moon of 2023. There is so much to talk about. This is an incredibly powerful new beginning. Welcome everyone, a special warm and fuzzy welcome to my YouTube subscribers. Please accept this warm, messy, sweaty hug because it's really hot here. It's so hot. I thought about pulling out the cauldron and doing some astrological magic with you all today, but literally the thought of just enduring the extra heat from a match made me want to cry. So intentions were there, not gonna happen. So there's a lot going on, my friends. A Cancer new moon alone is a very powerful thing because Cancer represents, well, one of the things Cancer represents is that second quadrant in the zodiac where we begin to become aware of other people, and not only other people, but that these other people have needs. And if we want to be in relationship with them, we have to learn about that. We have to learn about how to get our needs met and how to participate in these relational exercises of being in reciprocal relationship. And Cancer begins that journey of the zodiac where we are learning how to be nurtured, how to be cared for, what safety feels like, what mothering feels like. And that's not gendered, that's the energy of mothering. This is that place of ancient connection. Both Capricorn and Cancer, this axis is connected to ancient wisdom, ancient ancestors, cosmic soul lines. All of this is woven into this energy of Cancer. Now, we have two, well, more than two, but I'm going to talk about these two really important things first. One is that, we have Venus about to go retrograde in Leo. And the fact that Venus is going retrograde in Leo is really important to this new moon in this cycle we're beginning, because the relationship between Cancer and Leo has to be understood in order for us to understand what's happening right now. So Leo is the energy of shining, of receiving. It's also about, giving and receiving, but it has this kind of offshoot energy of being able to shine, being beheld by others. And through that, we also learn to behold others, that give and take. But we can only do that, we can only shine and allow ourselves to be beheld to the degree that we have been nurtured, fed, and kept safe and learned about powerful intimacy in the realm of Cancer. So if we have wounds around that, if we're carrying pain around not being properly cared for, maybe we've got some mommy issues. I mean, who doesn't? Those things are going to come out to play during this Venus retrograde in Leo because it's just meant to. It's meant, that's how this is set up. this Venus retrograde, first of all, don't be cutting your bangs. Don't cut your bangs. I mean, like, trim them if that's normally what you do and you have bangs already, but like, don't go and do some drastic hairstyle. Don't like do anything wild with your physical appearance. This is not the time. Just got to add that in there. So both Cancer and Venus retrograde are a time, well, a Cancer new moon is a time to think about the past, to reminisce, to sort of dig into old sentimentalities. And that's also what Venus retrograde does. We start thinking about loves from the past. They start thinking about us, start hearing from them. We start thinking about these stories. Leo is the storyteller, one of the storytellers. So we start thinking about these stories in our lives. And at this point, we may be, picking out different lessons from these parts of our history, from these stories that we carry in our hearts. So another thing we have going on, and it's just amazing how these things line up. But the moon's nodes at this new moon are like 2 minutes away from shifting into Aries and Libra. So, okay, let's go back a little bit. If you think back to the pandemic years, during that time, the South Node was in Sagittarius and the North Node was in Gemini. And the calling of that energy is to North Node in Gemini, ask a lot of questions, be curious, don't try to figure things out, don't try to know, just explore ideas, right? Where the South Node in Sagittarius is an energy that can think it already has everything figured out, think that it's right, not let any new information come in. Now, that's not Sagittarius in general, but that's the South Node in Sagittarius, one of the ways that it can express. And so that's what we were not supposed to do, but is kind of a default. And if you think about how people were during that time, everybody thought they had everything figured out. And if you thought something different, you were this, that, this, that, this, that, this, that. Families broke apart, relationships broke apart, all because we could not embrace just curiosity, the curiosity of Gemini, which was, well, hopefully we did, right? We did, but a lot of people did not. So when the nodes shifted, when the North Node shifted from Gemini to Taurus, and the South Node shifted from Sag to Scorpio, that energy, the North Node, I made a video about this. It might be a good time to visit that or revisit it. I'll put that in the description box below. But the North Node calling to embrace sanity and serenity and calm, and to learn to rely on our own personal power, our own strength, the resources that we have alone, which include things like our self-worth, our fortitude, our sturdiness, our connection with nature. The South Node in Scorpio is like manipulation, power control tactics, it's like secrets being dug up and, spinning in the drama of that, and refusing to see what is coming up out of the darkness. And, there's some things going on with that. We can see that. So now, as we close out this cycle, it's important to take a moment and to reflect, like, how did you do? How was it for you? What has been your experience in that realm for the last year and a half? For me personally, when the North Node moved into Taurus, y'all know I love Taurus energy. It's like my favorite. and I'm not a Taurus. But I made a promise to myself that I was not going to cause myself any more extra drama, stress, anxiety. I'm a being who has anxiety, like a lot of us. It can come out of nowhere. I don't know what it's about. It just kind of hits me sometimes. And that promise that I made to not add to that was really interesting, because I learned that it's very humbling. Most of the time, I am the cause of my own anxiety by allowing myself to care too much about what people may be thinking, or how people may be perceiving me, worrying about other people. It's not what other people are thinking, isn't my business. It's wasted energy and an energy drain. And so I've done really well with that. Yay. So as the moon's nodes move. Also, I would love to hear how you did with that, if you would like to share. I always love hearing how you are experiencing this energy and how this reflection goes for you. So with the moon's nodes moving, what new agreement, what new promise to ourselves can we make? I am going to make a whole separate video about the nodes in the South Node in Libra, North Node in Aries. So I'm not going to go too deeply into that now. But my point being, and you'll see this when we look at the chart, is that this new moon is occurring at 0, Taurus and Scorpio. And this is a very special and powerful axis, especially the 0 Scorpio, because this represents a breakout point. And this is actually something that I learned from the brilliant genius astrologer David Cochrane, who talks about this axis being a fusion point. I don't know if he uses the word fusion point. I use the word fusion point. It's like a fusion point where there's this instability as we break out into something new. And that breakout can feel really scary, because it's like we've maxed out at the level we're at. I don't love using levels as a metaphor, but for this it works. We've broken out of this level where we were at, like, top dog. We've done all this and we break out, but then we're starting at the beginning of this new level. And so we may feel for a moment that we've messed up, or that we're like lost, or we're going backwards, but we're not. It's only because we've just broken out into a whole new realm and we haven't quite got the lay of the land yet. So know that that's part of this kind of, where am I? Like, we have to get oriented to the new realm. This new moon is also conjunct the gorgeous fixed star Procyon. This star is truly beautiful and carries the energy of getting help, like help coming, people who love you coming to help. And this can be in the form of non-physical loves who love you, who are helping behind the scenes that we don't always realize is happening. But Procyon is named after the Greek word Procyon. I might be pronouncing that right, which means before the dog. And that's because Procyon rises just before Sirius. And we are in this luscious corridor in between when the sun was conjunct Sirius, like a week or so ago, and the heliacal rising of Sirius, which is different every year, and it's different according to your latitude. It is not on 8-8, although it may be for some people at their latitude, but it's different. So in Cairo this year, the heliacal rising of Sirius is, I think, August 1st. here where I live, I think it's, oh, I forget. I think it might be the 10th. I forget, but I have it written down. I can write it in the description for you. So it means before the dog. So it's kind of like that, it's not the town crier, but like do you remember the movie A Knight's Tale with Heath Ledger? When, before they come out to joust, there's the guy who announces them. And it's like, this is Knight Bluebeam, who, carries the stone of the wandering ancestors. He is the conqueror of the swamp people and the blah, blah, blah. That, like, Procyon is like that guy for Sirius. So Procyon comes, blows his little horn, and he's like, help from friends is coming, gifts and legacies. It's a great time to use your influence in the public sphere. And soon the spiritual center of the universe will be rising. It's like this, something's coming. Something's coming. Something beautiful is coming. It's pretty sweet. It's also interesting to note that Procyon is the 7th brightest star in the sky, and Sirius is the brightest star in the sky. So let's take a look at the chart. Okay, so here is our chart for the new moon. July 17th, 2023, 2:31 p.m. Eastern Time. So here is our sun moon conjunction, our new moon at 24 degrees and 56 minutes. It's basically 25 degrees of Cancer. Now, there's a lot to talk about in this chart too. I mean, oh my gosh. But let's just look real quick. Look, 0 degrees and 1 minute. This is just, it's like go time with this, with everything that we have learned about our shadow in Scorpio and our power and sanity in Taurus. Oh my gosh. And the turning of this wheel, the nodes of the moon, they move backwards. They are almost always retrograde. There are some days that they are direct, and that means something entirely different, but they're almost always retrograde. So this process of the moons going retrograde, the nodes going retrograde naturally, is a beautiful sign that we can trust that the universe is benevolent and that our karma is just always naturally unwinding if we let it. Like, it's happening anyway. And really, our job a lot of the time is just to stop resisting it, to stop holding on to things that are trying to leave, because they should and they're meant to, and we're better for their leaving. And there's a lot of that theme in this new moon. Look at this. So we have an opposition with Pluto. Hello. Pluto is very tightly squaring the nodes. Hello. And this is creating a really potent grand cross with the new moon. Now, one of my clients slash friends slash students always laughs at me because she says, Ananda, I never hear you say, ooh, look at all these trines. And a lot of times I get comments on my videos like, aren't you going to talk about, Saturn Pluto trine, or aren't you going to talk about Sun Moon trine? And the answer is probably no, because a trine is so easy flowing, there's not that much to say. Where a square, especially a set of squares and oppositions in the form of a grand cross, there's lots to say. Nothing spectacular generally happens when we have a crap ton of trines. That's just chilling, having a good time and enjoying, which is wonderful. That's important, and it's important to have. But true, like, creative explosions, major awareness ahas, like these, the impact of hard aspects is what makes greatness, what makes experiences to remember, what creates new realms and new inventions. And it's that friction of challenge and motivation happening together that gets us to do stuff, gets us going. It's like it's like sitting on hot coals. It's not comfortable, but it gets you going. So this is a particularly, I mean, with Pluto in the room like this, we know unequivocally that there's a pretty big potential that something is not able to be hidden anymore. And for a lot of people, this is happening in your relationships. If you are partnered romantically, if you are married, if you it's not just, of course, it's not just romantic relationships, but if you are romantically partnered, there is something bubbling up or will be bubbling up, and this doesn't have to be a bad thing. If we have the courage to put it all out on the table, then we actually have the possibility to get what we want, or to begin creating the life we're dreaming of. If we keep that stuff under the table and we're complaining that our life isn't the way we want, that's just, we're doing that. That's our problem that we've got to stop doing. And Pluto opposing this new moon makes it impossible to keep it hidden anymore. So yay, let's put it all out on the table so we can begin to truly be fed by life, to truly begin to feel what real safety, what real care, and what true intimacy feels like. Now, if we shift this a little bit and we consider Pluto squaring the nodes, there's a lot here about our trust wounds. And this is also going to be a part of the new nodal cycle with the South Node in Libra. I mean, who doesn't have a trust wound, right? I mean, most of us do. And now is the time to really begin looking that in the eye and working with it, remolding that clay, seeing what's up with that. Pluto here is going to help us do that. Now, on the world stage, it's doing a whole other thing where collectively there's a lot being revealed that has been hidden, and we want that. That's really, really good for that to be happening at long last. Now, there's a long way to go, but every little bit of truth, we'll take it. So this new moon is also really out of bounds, way out of bounds. So it's got a wild card. It's helping us tap into the extraordinary. And it's doing that in a lot of different ways. So let's take a look at these other aspects outside of this grand cross. Look, we have two yods, two fingers of God or fingers of destiny. One is pointing at Neptune with the South Node and Venus. One is pointing at Venus with the base at Pluto and Neptune. Interesting. Okay, so actually, there's a whole theme here happening because this new moon is trining Neptune. Yeah. So there's a part of this that is happening in the unseen, because this trine with Neptune, speaking of trines, see, I'm talking about a trine. This trine is helping us create in the unseen worlds. Neptune, without Neptune, we could not ever dream something into being. Now, it isn't Neptune that brings it into reality, that's Saturn, but Saturn is in Pisces with Neptune. So Saturn is, both of them are retrograde. Saturn retrograde in Pisces right now is actually working behind the scenes in the unseen realms, undoing some of our visions that we were trying to create. He's helping us reevaluate how and what we are dreaming. And he's doing that for us. I don't mean he's doing all the work, but he's doing that for our benefit. It's for us, not to us. Neptune is here in this. Oh God, this is so cool, because, what I was saying before about this degree of 0 Scorpio, especially being that breakout point, Neptune is playing a part in that as well. And so his role in that respect is working in tandem with Saturn, where Neptune is helping us see where we were fooling ourselves, where we are not being honest with ourselves. Because let's face it, there's a lot of talk about setting intentions, especially on new moons. Set your intention, set your intention. If all you're going to do is set an intention and then forget about it, nothing's going to happen. At least, you know what I mean? If you are walking through this life thinking that you don't have to participate, then you're missing the whole point of it. The exercise of setting an intention is so we have a point of reference to remember what we are trying to do. So we set our intention and then we remember it and we interact with it. If we are not doing that, Neptune is like, dude, if you're not participating, it's not going to happen. So where are we fooling ourselves? Where are we still playing these tapes in our mind where we're kind of martyring ourselves, thinking, life is doing this to us, but then we are not interacting with that intention. So Neptune and Saturn are working together to help us with that. And it's a lot of help they're offering. Powerful, powerful help. This is a time where we can actually release so much that we have not been able to release before. Very, very powerful stuff. So with this apex of this one finger of God here, with the South Node in Venus, this is about our love nature, our money. Really, it's about our self-worth and what we have been saying yes to that we should have been saying no to. Just because you can say yes doesn't mean you should or have to. Just because you're super sturdy and incredibly strong and resilient doesn't mean you have to keep saying yes to things that keep putting you in the role of having to be resilient. Yes. And this one pointing at Venus with Neptune and Pluto, this sextile with Neptune and Pluto is often happening in the sky. And many of us have this in our natal charts because this is that transformation of our spirituality And it's also about magic, about working that magic behind the realms, creating our vision first, creating the vision, setting the intention, and then building actual structure on that scaffolding with Saturn, with Mars, with the builders of the zodiac, with the builders in our life, in our ancestry, in our spirit team. We need both. We have to envision it before we can create it. And creating it involves interacting with it in the real world in real time, whatever that is. Yes. So let's see if there's anything else screaming out at me. Oh, speaking of that, look at this very tight novile with Mars. Oh, a novile is another sort of next level energy. And with it being with Mars, that's about our action, putting our pedal to the metal, putting our action where our intentions are, putting our money where our mouth is, acting like we mean it. Are you living life like you mean it? If you're just setting intentions and then forgetting it, there's a lot that you could be experiencing that you might be missing. We're all guilty of this from time to time. I've certainly spent many of the years of my life not putting my money where my mouth was because I wanted to, well, I didn't want to play the victim. We don't want to play the victim, but sometimes it's part of our patterning. And we all have that going on somewhere. Knowing where that is powerful medicine. So yes, that quintile with Jupiter is quite lovely actually as well, because Jupiter is giving us the creative notion to do this building, to do this, not the building part, but the envisioning part that we will build on later. So that's also beautiful. So look, this is a crazy powerful new moon. And new moons don't always get the credit that they deserve for totally transforming our lives. Yeah, so be on the lookout. Venus retrograde is coming. The shift of the nodes is coming. Look out for that video because I've got a lot to say about that. I hope you are all doing incredibly well. Sending all of my love to you. Please let me know how you are doing in the comments. I love every word you say. I will see you very soon.